All right, hey everyone, we are here today to talk about Chesterton's fence. So this is a 90-year-old idea, but I think is one that is quite interesting and one that I've found particularly valuable and something I guess you'd say I wish I would have known about a bit sooner in life or internalized a bit sooner in life. Um, so I think it'll be a good topic just to kind of give a brief overview of, and obviously this is not my idea, but just try to explain the concept. And again, it's one that is really important to keep in mind for pretty much anyone. Certainly, if you're thinking at all about politics, entrepreneurship, or any complex system, it's incredibly helpful. So this was proposed by G.K. Chesterton in 1929. Chesterton's an author, but wrote about this actually in one of his novels. And the basic thought experiment goes like this. I'll kind of put into colloquial language here. You come across a fence in a field, and there's no real reason that you can see that the fence, why the fence would be there. So your first reaction might be to tear down that fence, especially if you're, a reformer or an entrepreneur or an innovator, etc. See a fence in a field, you're like, certainly my reaction, what is this? Like, let's tear it down. And there's actually a better first question to ask, which is, why was the fence put up in the first place? And inherently there must be a reason, because no one other than an insane person would build a fence for no reason. So that reason may be a bad reason, in which case, innovation or reforming the system, tearing down the fence is welcome, but it may actually be a good reason and just one that you can't see or understand yet. So basically put, we need to reach a better conclusion, which is you cannot tear down a fence until you know why the fence was put there in the first place. It's a good, very good visual example, and I think for myself, I'll talk to the experience first, particularly as an entrepreneur. This is something I've hit multiple times in co-founding We Achieve, which is a goal tracking and a social accountability platform. And we've kind of hit this multiple times where we think that we have a better way of doing things. I think any entrepreneur has that. You inherently have to think that you have a better way of doing things than what's out there currently. And you may be right, but you need to understand why things are done the way they are currently. So we've kind of hit this multiple times, even with something as mundane as like, people, currently like a lot of the tracking systems are, tracking just yes or no. We want to make that more robust and let you track kind of multiple things all tied to the same event, basically. And, that's great. It does have its purpose, but as it turns out, and you could say I'm an idiot for not spotting this, a lot of people really just want to track things that are yes or no and do that really quickly. So we've kind of, added some extra work, but gone back and basically enabled a process to do that. But just indicative of, had we had this Chesterton's fence paradigm in our heads initially and really internalized that, we probably would have saved ourselves pretty substantial amounts of work from both that example as well as others. So, good example, good forewarning for anyone out there. Now, when it comes to politics, this is one that actually is somewhat partisan, because generally positions of the political left are much more likely to violate Chesterton's fence. And this basically goes back to psychology, that if you look at like the big five psychological test, people who are on the left, or talking about certainly the US or any sort of modern policies, modern countries, any left-leaning policies, the people who tend to associate as, in this case, Democrats, have demonstrated a much higher openness to new ideas, again, on those big five personality tests. And so that naturally, if you have openness to new ideas, you also have kind of inherently less respect for set of current ideas. And so you're much more likely to say, let's tear down the existing structures and let's, build new ones. And that desire is quite strong. And again, as an entrepreneur, I can certainly relate to that, even if I don't necessarily agree to it from a political perspective. But meanwhile, if you look at the political right, that's typically defined as conservative, as upholding the status quo. And again, psychologically, it's been shown time and again that those folks are actually less open to new ideas or new experiences. And so thus, those folks are less likely to violate Chesterton's fence. So, of course, like, the end answer to this, right, is that, like, there's a golden mean in the middle. And if you you have too much reverence for the fence that's in the field, and you think that it's just been put up by some all-knowing deity, as an example, then that's not going to do you much good either, because you're going to end up with a bunch of fences and no one's going to really understand why they're there, and you're just going to be stuck in a field of fences, I guess. I don't know where this analogy goes. But not a good thing. But we also can't go around just tearing down fences for no reason, because a lot of those fences probably do have good reason for being there. And again, with politics, you would look at like a lot of sort of cultural norms or traditions would also fall into this as things that are essentially fences. And can tear them down, but you're probably going to find some unintended consequences as a result that you may have been able to predict in the future. So ideally, a healthy person or society can kind of find this balance between the two extremes, and that's what I kind of encourage for you, and something that I'm obviously trying to do. So that's our thought for today, and see you guys next time.